Welcome to today's Entrepreneur Show. My name is Heidi Richards Mooney, and I'm your host today. I'm also the founder of Women in E-Commerce. The Entrepreneur Show is where we interview savvy, smart women who use online channels to promote their businesses. I'm delighted to welcome our guest today, Allison Maslan. Let me tell you a little bit about Allison. She is the CEO and founder of Pinnacle Global Network. Pinnacle Global Network offers businesses mentorship and mastermind programs to establish business owners who want to accelerate their growth, capitalize on their success, and balance it all with a meaningful life. She is also the author of 2 books, Amazon's #1 bestseller, Blast Off, the Surefire Success Plan to Launch Your Dreams into Reality, and her newest book, Scale or Fail, How to Build Your Dream Team, Explode Your Growth, and Let Your Business Soar, which is available this month, soon, right? Next month, right, Allison? Yeah. So we're very excited because talk to you about this new book of yours is, I'm just thrilled that we're like one of the first. So I'm very happy. So let's talk about your background first, how you first got interested in the path you have chosen to help other people in business.
So I was born into a very entrepreneurial family. My father built the largest chain of women's fashion clothing stores in the United States from 1955 to the early 80s. And he had such a passion, Heidi, for his work. He loved it. And so it wasn't so much necessarily what he said to me. It's not that he really shared these earth-shattering business strategies with me, but what I learned was just in watching his passion and his drive, and I thought, I want that. I want to be able to create something, manifest it in the world, help people, make a difference, and something that I love. So I started my first business when I was 19. And it was a greeting card company and designed greeting cards for companies like MCI and, Allstate and so forth. And people started asking me, they'd say, Allison, we love your greeting cards, but do you do brochures or radio commercials or television commercials? And I had no clue how to do any of those things. But I would kind of hear my dad's voice in my ear saying, well, if someone asks you to do something and you feel like it's worthwhile, even if you don't know how to do it, just say yes and then figure out how to get it done. And so that's really what I did. And I would walk out of these companies and I go, oh my God, I have no idea how to do this. But when you get your back against the wall, it's amazing what you can, be resourceful. And so by the time I was 25, I built this full service advertising and PR firm called the Borali Group in San Diego. And we just took off. It grew very fast. We had companies like Ben & Jerry's and Supercuts and Allstate. Wow. It just, I was making a lot of money. I was traveling all over the country. And you would have looked at me back then, Heidi, and you would have thought, wow, this young lady, she has got it together. Well, for all intents and purposes, I did outwardly, but inwardly, I was a wreck. I was a mess. I had no life. I was working 24/7. My daughter was, like a year and a half old at that time. And I was miserable. And I thought, God, what is wrong with me? Like, I should be grateful. I should be so happy, And I just felt trapped in my own success. And the thing is that I didn't know how to scale a business. I had a few team members. I didn't know how to delegate. I didn't understand the logistics of business. And, so I ended up totally crashing and burning. I had a terrible car accident that was near fatal, and it was a miracle that I walked away from it. And in that moment that I knew I was going to make it, I said, that is it. I am not living like this. And so I walked away from that business with nothing.
Wow.
And walked away from a difficult marriage and set out into the world as a single mom, and no idea what I was going to do with my life, but honestly happier than I had been in years. And I loved the business thing. I knew that I wanted to do that, but I knew I had to do it differently. So I took a year and really studied, what was I doing right? What was I doing wrong? And really studying companies that had it together, and these Fortune 100 companies, really learning the intricacies of building this solid platform so that you could grow. And then I went to build 9 more companies over the years, over the last 35 years, that I've had a blast with. And so now I really just pay it forward, helping business owners, my team and I, in our Pinnacle Global Network, and help them to grow and scale. And it's the best ever.
That's so wonderful. Well, you said so many things I really want to comment on. First of all, the fact that you had that entrepreneurial spirit. So often, I think that's an identifier, is that we say yes and then figure it out later. I've done that in my business over and over again. And I'm probably a little older than you, but I think we're in the same generation in terms of how many years we've both been doing this. I've been 37, you've been 35 years. So I know, that you just, it's like, you don't want to say no. I had a client who asked me to do something I'd never done before recently. And I said, well, how hard can it be? So the worst can happen is I can outsource and learn from that person. That's kind of what I've done. What I've learned, though, like you, is over the years, is that you need to be able to hand things off. You can't do everything yourself, not in have a life. So I applaud you for recognizing that so early, because I think I was much older before it happened to me. And I know a lot of people, so that's great.
Well, the universe was kind of like giving me this wake-up call.
Yeah.
That car accident. So I think, sometimes the signs are there, but we don't want to look at them. And,
right.
we can be control freaks in our business. And I think
yeah.
biggest, drawback, we just get stuck in doing it the way we've always done it.
Well, I think there's a little fear. We may not want to admit it, but I think there's a little fear. The fear is that, we're doing so well. We don't want to change anything because we're fearful that it may not work. And then, oh my gosh, we got to take care of a family and all of that. So there's so many lessons that can be learned by this. So thank you. Thank you. So then, you did 9 other businesses, and now you have Pinnacle Global Network, correct? Tell us about that. Tell us what you do in this business and how you help people. And I know we're going to get more in depth of the scale and fail thing, but I want to know a little more.
No, I'm happy to share. So, I've had mentors since my early days in business. I do now. I work with a coach. I'm in a mastermind, and it really is the smartest thing that a business owner can do. And it's not just it's business owners that are struggling, but it's also very successful business owners have a mentor. I mean, Steve Jobs had a coach. Eric Schmidt, who is the CEO of Google, says the reason that he had the success that he's had is from having a business coach. And so what we do is we bring the best of both worlds together, is bringing the private mentoring and also the masterminding of the group. We have business owners all over the world that are part of our Pinnacle Global Network. So the community of the support, because it's lonely being a business owner and trying to make all these decisions. And so when you have people that you can bounce ideas off, you have somebody that holds your hand and walks you along the path, you just get things done, you make decisions, you don't hold on to it, you don't stay stuck, and you just move forward. And so we have business owners that have been with us going on 7 years even. They just stay with us the life of their company, and we just really support their growth. in their profits and their revenue, but also their quality of life, their health, and their happiness.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit about how you mastermind with your people, and maybe a little profile of what those people look like, your ideal customer, your ideal, the person that you best serve.
So I think, as we talk a little further in this interview, I'll share my 5 phases, and that kind of will bring to light some of this 5 phases to build a team managed company. But, phase 2 is when you start to build a team, and you might have an assistant, a marketing person, a bookkeeper. And so you're in that early growth phase. And so we have our Pinnacle Elite level. That's that growth track is that we mentor them. And then phase 3, 4, 5 is you start to build teams, and there's an evolution to that, but you start to have teams. Like, for instance, one of our clients, Christine Sanchez, and her husband Alex, they had run a company called ANC Cold Storage for 10 years before they started working with me. And they had, I think they were about 500,000 in revenue. And Christine was the bottleneck to growth. Everything had to go through her before it would come in the company, go out of the company. She still had her hands in so many aspects of the business that it was stunting the growth and keeping them small. And she was operating more as a boss rather than a leader, and telling the team what to do instead of inspiring them. And so we really helped them build out the team. We've helped Christine to step into more of that leadership role. And it's a very male-dominated industry, construction industry. And even interestingly, in some of the meetings, she would be asked to leave the meeting because she was a woman, right? So this took a lot of strength for her to step into this role, to say, I'm not going anywhere. And I'm so proud of her. But, she's really evolved, and they have grown like 600%
Wow.
in the last 2 years. Several $1 million. So where they were going after jobs that were like $25,000, $50,000 jobs, now they're going after $1 million jobs and getting them. But, you have to grow up to be that company, to be that leader, to even go after contracts like that. So we love working with companies like that and helping them take that leap.
So your ideal client is a more of a mid-sized company, would you say?
They're small businesses. We will generally, at least in the 6 figures, there's a revenue stream. They've been in business for a few years. And so that's our growth track. And then once they hit the $1 million and up, $1 million to $50 million is our Pinnacle Gold track. And they're ready to scale. So, you're just getting the revenue streams, your sales and marketing going in that early phase. Then you've got to create a model that can replicate and scale. So, oftentimes the model has to change from the early stages once you want to start multiplying, especially if you're the one doing all of the service, if you're the attorney, the financial planner, whatever that is, and you're the one that's delivering the service, there's no way you can scale that way. So we really help you make that transition.
So for those who might not fully understand what scaling is, can you give us just a brief description so that people understand what that means, going from one position to the next?
Right. So if you think of scaling, it's kind of like scaling that mountain, and it is somewhat of a mountain, right, when you're building a company. But scaling really is figuring out a formula so that you can duplicate yourself and multiply your revenue streams at a much faster speed without having the expense at that same level. So the growth is multiplying, but the expense is staying about the same. And that's where you get companies that have very fast growth. And I share in my book, Scale or Fail, several strategies to scale your company. And, I'm happy to dive into that as well. But, you know, in the beginning, and you're just trying to get your business out there and off the ground and get your revenue stream there. And every business starts that way.
Right.
But, you know, there are it's not about working harder. It really is about having those right strategies in place to scale.
Work smarter, not harder. I like that.
Exactly.
So besides being an incredibly successful businesswoman, you're also a trapeze artist, which oh my gosh, I can't wait to hear about this. So you've compared scaling a business to swinging on a flying trapeze. How are the two alike?
So I've been a trapeze artist for 18 years, and I accomplished a dream of mine last year by building one in my backyard, and which is super crazy. But I used to drive to LA like, you know, 4 hours a week, and now I just walk 30 feet out my back door. So it's kind of cool. And so really it is about, there's so many different metaphors, you know, climbing the ladder. Like, you can't look down, you know, you got to look forward, you got to look up. And then once you get up on that pedestal, you really have to put yourself out there. I mean, you can't hide and stay small. And I always visualize, I get really clear in my mind the trick that I'm going to do, what's it going to feel like in my body, and making that catch and feeling totally excited. Like, it is such a mental game with trapeze, even though it's about 11, 12 seconds for the whole trick to take place and catch. You know, there's just so many things that are going on in the mind. And so if you jump off and you have doubt, you might have fear, that's okay. But if you have doubt that you can do it, you probably will not make the trick.
Wow.
And so it's the same certainty with business. It's like, you're going to make mistakes, things are going to happen, but you've got to know deep down that you are going to create success, that you will find a way. Even if things feel like they're falling apart, there's always a way, there's always a solution. And so it's that same, you know, having that solid feeling in your gut. And then also the other is the trust, being willing to let go. And like we were talking about earlier, in trying to trusting your team, letting go, know they've got it, even if they make mistakes, this is how they learn. And in trapeze, if I don't let go of the bar, I'm never going to catch that catcher. So it's, you know, that's kind of the scary and exhilarating moment at the same time.
Wow. So let's talk a little bit about how a business owner would know when it's time to scale.
So I find that at about the $450,000 range, if you've been running a business, solopreneur, business owners really hit a wall. And it may even be 200-300, depending on what it is you offer. But there's only so many hours in the day where you feel like, you know, I can't take on any more clients. Or maybe you see that down the pipeline. You don't really want to have to wait till you're just, you know, completely burnt out like so many business owners do. And I've been there, you know, myself. And so at that point, you've got to look at, how do I create a bunch of mini me's? You know, that's one of the methods, is to replicate yourself with a team. So in my case, with the Pinnacle Global Network, in the early days, it was just me. I was mentoring people one-on-one, and I love that. And I'm still able to do that in our company now, but I knew that I was only going to be able to help so many people. And so for me, my criteria was that if I was going to bring on team members, they had to have all run successful companies themselves. They have all been in the trenches, scale their company. And so we have 8 CEOs that mentor our clients. And some of them have sold companies for $30 and $40 million, you know, had thousands of employees. So they really know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And I can go to sleep at night and I don't have to worry about it. I know our clients are taken care of. They love their mentors. They love their team. And so, but you know, it's a scary thing to take that leap, that I'm going to trust that someone else can do it the way that I do. And, you know, I've been through that. several times, and it is, I've had to work with my own mentor around letting go and trusting that the clients are going to be taken care of, and they will be. It's all in hiring appropriately, of course, having high standards, training well. The training is really key. But in the early days, it was, just making it up as we sort of went along. And then we started to see patterns and what worked and what didn't work and so forth. So, but that's that starts that evolution of the scaling and getting it beyond yourself.
So obviously, when you get to that point where you just cannot take any more business, you have to decide: do you want to stay where you are, or do you want to grow your business? So I think that's a good measurement for whether you're ready to scale or not. Because some people never want to. I'm at the point where I've had so many businesses and I've done everything. Now I just like being the solopreneur. I have people I outsource to. I mentor a few people, but for me, I don't want to work that hard anymore because I have grandchildren and I spend a lot of time with them. And, and those who know me know that family's always first at this stage, because when I was young, my poor family suffered a lot because I worked my, tushy off trying to, prove myself to everybody.
And you make such a good point, Heidi, because it's, it really is a choice point. It's designing the kind of life you want. In the way that we teach it in the book, Scale or Fail, once you build your company up, you really should be able to work 1 day a week. So like, I don't work those long hours anymore. And it's really building the team that does it and takes it and runs with it. And so that's key, but you really need to learn how to do that because, otherwise you do get sucked into working 24/7, right? So.
I agree. So one of the things that I've heard you say is that playing it safe isn't a business strategy. What do you mean by that?
So it really is about holding on too tightly, and because the bigger the risk, the bigger the growth. It's like your growth is going to be equal to the level of risk that you're willing to take. And I remember my first big event that I hosted. This was back in 2011. And I'd been in business for a long time. At that point, I'd taken plenty of risks. But I signed a big contract with a hotel, if you've ever had a big event before. And I committed to having 100 people in the room. And here we were, like 2 months out, and I'd had 20 people registering. We're in for about $100,000 at that point. And I was so stressed out. I was a basket case. My husband, I'm crying. My husband's like, that's it. You're never doing this again, kind of thing. And I tried to back out with my event team, who's still with me all these years later. And she's like, well, it would be another 20 grand, to the hotel. I'm like, oh my God. And so, I buckled up and, we eked 100 in the room, probably lots of my cousins and their friends and their friends and friends. And, within like 10 minutes of being on stage and seeing those faces in the room, and then over the 3 days, seeing that transformation, I knew that it was the right move. And my husband came up to me on the second day, I'll never forget this, with tears in his eyes. And he said, now I really get why you do this work. Now I really get why you're so passionate about it. And, we took a huge growth leap from that moment. And we just had our 10th event, big event. And each one has, grown year over year. We have, over 500 people attending the events. But it really was a massive leap. And so that's really what I say about the playing small. It's not just spending a lot of money. It's like, am I willing to face that fear and just go for it?
Right. Well, and you have to be smart about it, I'm sure, because you can lose a lot of money on events if you don't know what you're doing. So obviously you do what you were doing. You had the right people who were supporting you and encouraging you, because encouraging, believe me, I've put on a few events too. I have a big event every year called the Golden Mouse Award, and we have to fill 250 seats sometimes, 200 to 250. We scaled it back simply because I don't really want the stress. And it isn't about the money for me. It's about honoring women. So the last couple of years we did 150, and I was really happy because we still had a good turnout, but I didn't kill myself like I had the previous year. So I know, but I have a team of people who not only help with the plans, but they say, oh, you have to do this. It's now people are expecting it. You've done it now 5 years and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, so then I don't want to let anybody down. And it turns out great every year. So I get what you're saying. It can be very scary. The first year I wasn't even sure we were going to fill 200, and that was our goal. And wow. So congratulations. I mean, what you've done, really, Allison, I've been watching you for years, and what you have done is amazing. The people that you impact is amazing. So thank you for all that you do to help so many people. Let's talk a little bit about your trademark Scale It method. It's your signature roadmap of scaling. What is it, and how can other business owners use it to create their own path to success?
So I really go into this deeply in the new book, Scale or Fail, and it's an acronym for SCALE. S is the strategic vision. So you have to start with that big picture vision of where you're going. And sometimes we think we know the vision when we start, but it really evolves and changes. And I find that if there is a marketing problem or a team problem, it's a vision problem. And so if you are clear about your big picture vision, and I mean really dialing it down, what you stand for, where you want to be in the next 3 years, what does it look like on all levels? And then your team, if you, even a small team, even a virtual team, they really have to get the vision, and they have to buy into your vision as well and be pumped up and excited about it so that they can help it grow. So that's the S, strategic vision. The C is cash flow. Cash flow is king, and the lifeblood of your company. So there's many ways of creating cash flow, and probably the best way is sales. And so you really need to have a revenue stream that is pumping in new business every single day and creating a revenue focused company. And I think a lot of times business owners can panic, and they're just looking, I need to get a loan and I need to get this credit, which is great. It's good to have those things. But if you get sales, you don't have to pay it back. Like you own that, and now you have more people you can help. So that's the C, cash flow. A is alliance of the team, and that really is how to hire, how to create a strong company culture, and our team. We have close to 20 now on the team, and they just have so much fun together. It really is like a family. And, there's just a lot of nurturing involved in that. And like I was saying before, learning to be a leader and lead a team. And then the L that's leadership. That's you as the CEO, your own personal growth. Your own mindset is crucial. When all the proverbial, hits the fan, how do you respond? Like, screaming at your team does not work. So leadership is a lifelong work. And then the E is execution. It's all fantasy in your head until the rubber meets the road. I know what that's like, Heidi. Is putting it all into action, making sure there's clear goals, who knows what they're supposed to be doing and by when, and really monitoring those metrics to make sure that you're not throwing money away and that you're reaching the correct people and you're really focused on those profits.
So and I agree with you. I think that so many of those, you need every one of those things in order to have a successful business. Here's a question I have about scaling. Is every business scalable? And how can an entrepreneur know if their business is scalable?
Well, it's not scalable if you are the revenue stream.
Okay.
And again, that's,
What do you mean by that?
well, if you're delivering a service and you're the only one delivering it. So if you're the CPA or the attorney, or, just adding more hours is not scaling. So, but there's several ways. Now, your model might not be a scalable model, but you can add revenue streams that are scalable. So every business can become scalable. So I'll give you an example. You could create a subscription program around what you do, and every business can do this. So even Christine with the cold storage construction company, we are helping her create a certification program for cold storage construction workers. And so this is a way to scale. One of my clients has an alarm company, so they have a subscription program, right, for their alarm service. Another company, a staffing company. And you'd think, well, what do you do for a subscription program with staffing? Well, there's compliance issues for companies with HR, and they change all the time. And so by paying a monthly fee of, $49 or $149 or $349 a month, whatever that is, you are supplying them with the updated legalities and all of the information they need to have in one place for a company to make it so easy so that their employees are not wasting time trying to go to all, events and gather all this information. So you can create scaling through having these recurring income, and that increases the value of your company. If you went to sell your company and you have recurring revenue, it can increase the value 3 to 5 times.
Excellent. So let's move on now. I want to talk a little, because we're gonna run out of time soon. So I want to talk about a little bit about virtual team members. What tips can you offer to help businesses work more seamlessly with a mix of on-site and virtual employees?
So, a lot of companies are going now, and even some of our team is virtual. We have a lot of our company is at our headquarters here in San Diego, but 2 of my key members moved to Oregon, got together separately, and so we do a lot of calls on Zoom. We do regular meetings, and even some people on our team that are freelance, they aren't necessarily full-time employees, but they still are very involved in the vision of the company. They understand what we stand for. They understand we help people make their dreams come true. They understand that they are a big part of that equation. And we help them feel like they are irreplaceable. And so they see their value. And I think that's where, if you want your employees to shift from feeling like this is a job to feeling like, or you're virtual, even freelance, to this is a career, and that you're a pivotal part of this big dream, this big journey, you want to constantly, as the leader, inspire them, help them to see that, look what you're doing, look what you're creating, look at the impact that you're making. And it doesn't matter if you're selling tires or you're designing wigs. It's like across the gamut. There is a vision there, and you are making a difference. But you, the leader, have to be that ongoing inspirer, or you build your leaders up to be those ongoing inspirers.
So part of being an entrepreneur is being a cheerleader. Absolutely.
You're definitely a cheerleader. Your role is to raise up the vibration in the company on a regular basis.
Excellent. So let's talk a little bit about your book, Scale or Fail. In the book, you discuss the importance of empowering your team members to make appropriate decisions. How does that help a company scale?
Well, sometimes there could be 100 decisions happening a day, And if you have given the message to the team that you have to be the one that approves everything, you can imagine how that really slows things down. So this is the scary part. This is the leap, right? Is to trust that they can make the decision. And what I used to think was, if I just show them enough times, they'll get it. But actually, it was working against me. Because if I kept showing them, they in their mind were thinking, well, Allison's just going to show me how to do this. So I don't really have to think for myself, right?
True.
And it's like with your children, right? If you're constantly doing it for them or rescuing them or fixing it for them, they never spread their wings to fly. But when you say, you know what, you've got this, I trust you, or, you know, how would you do it? All of a sudden, they really have to take ownership. And they may make a couple mistakes, but boy, you know, they're like, whoa, I don't want to do that again. And that's where they get excited and they feel like you trust them. So they're going to take it way more seriously.
So trust is a huge issue about, you know, when you empower your employees, you have to let go. You have to be able to trust that they're going to make decisions the best way they know how. And if you've hired right, they will. And like you said, sometimes they make mistakes. My favorite saying when I have a retail florist, but we don't have a retail flower shop site anymore. We work out of a warehouse. So when we had a lot of employees, and we train everybody to do the same job, then they all start out sweeping the floor. And we would say, if you can manage sweeping a floor, then I know you can take orders well, and you can also lead. Because if there's nothing to do, I want you to be able to pick up that broom and sweep. And that's what they did. So every employee, if they didn't do that when it was slow, they wouldn't last very long, because the other team would look at members would say, hey, why aren't you sweeping? There's nothing else to do, you know? So, and one of our favorite sayings was use your discretion. And I think that's the problem with a lot of companies, is they don't allow people to use their discretion. They want to tell them how to do it, or and I think it's okay to tell them how to do it until they figure it out on their own. But I think discretion is such an underutilized tool in a person, you know. So having said that, and you know, it's funny. Okay, here we go. I want to make sure I found my questions, because I don't want to lose track of all these important questions. We're almost in the home stretch. So what are the 4 superpowers of business? I love that. And how do they come into play as companies grow?
Yeah, I just feel like this is so helpful in this idea of scaling. So when you think of a business, there's so many moving parts, right? You got your revenue streams, your marketing, your sales, your admin, like, you know, your legal, your finance. It's like, you know, and trying to juggle all that just feels overwhelming. And so what I've done is I have narrowed it down and put them into 4 quadrants: revenue streams, traffic, sales, and operations. 4 is easy to manage, 10 is not. So so those are the 4 quadrants. So what you want to do is, you know, most businesses might have 1 or 2 of those areas are working okay, and then the others are pretty wobbly. So if you think of you know, 4 legs of a table, if, you know, you got a couple strong legs and the others are wobbly, the second you put something on it, it's going to fall apart. So you really want to find experts to run each of those divisions: the revenue streams, the traffic, which is marketing, the sales, you know, which we talked about is so key, and then the operations, which is really team and finance and logistics. So find out where your superpower is in those 4 areas. You know, where do you shine? You find 3 others to run those divisions that they're just superstars in that, right? And then once you get all those humming, then you find someone to replace you. And you're, you know, more overseeing or stepping back, or you're on a trip to, you know, Timbuktu.
I love it. Let's talk about the 5 phases of building a company that runs itself.
Yeah, so this is really revealing, because it helps you to see where you are and where you can go. And you really need to go through all the 5 phases to truly scale. The phase 1 I call the seeker. And that's the solopreneur. And that's when you got your passion, you're out there, you're making it happen, but you're delivering the service, you're approving everything. It's a lot on you. Then phase 2 is the pioneer, and you got your hands dirty. You're really forging this path, but you've got a small team. You might have an assistant, a marketing person, a bookkeeper. Again, most likely you're approving everything that goes in and out of the company. Phase 3, I call the ringleader because it's a circus. And it is your teams are starting to form, but you probably have people in the wrong roles, and you're starting to get clear vision. You're starting to have team meetings and putting systems in place, but you probably have some of your team in that 70% that Gallup says is disengaged. And it's because, again, we're at this phase, you need to start letting go. If you're squeezing, you're micromanaging everything, you're going to have frustrated employees, and you have people coming and going. So this is like, you have to go through this phase, but it can be somewhat messy, and a lot of businesses die there. I mean, it's kind of a dangerous place to stay. They could be there for years and frustrated. And then phase 4 is, I call the co-creator. And this is where you take that leap. This is like the leap on the trapeze to let go. And you start working with the team. And you're like, instead of giving them the answers, you're like, well, what would you do? How would you handle this? And then they start asking important questions like, how do we grow profits? How do we create a better customer experience? And they step up as leaders, they own it, they run with it, and you're like, this is a business owner's dream, okay? And then we move into phase 5, which is the visionary, and this is what you're born to do. And this is where you really trust to step back, like they've got it. And even though you could put your 2 cents in, you just shut your mouth. And for me, there are many times where, even leading some of our events, I mean, our team has so got it handled. And I used to jump in and, say this and give this piece of advice. And now I don't, I can just sit back and know that I'm just really kind of messing things up. So let me just, get out of the way and know that they've got it handled. So you have to go through all phases if you're going to scale. And it's kind of like crawling to walking to running. You can't really skip a phase of development of a company. But it's a very fun ride. It's a wild ride, but if you have the right strategies in place, you will avoid the pitfalls and, the headache and the heartache, and multiply, duplicate fairly quickly.
And I'm sure you could name 100 people or 100 businesses that have that are at that level of visionary, like, Apple and Amazon and all of that, because those people have let go and, let their teams run them. And it must be really nice when people get to that level, I think. So let's talk. I'm going to change a little bit. I want at the end for you to show your book. Do you have a copy of your book, Candy?
I do. It will take me like 10 seconds to grab it. I should have had it right next to me.
All right, we'll get to that in a minute. Tell us what books you're reading besides your own books. I'm sure you've read your own books a few times, but what books are you currently reading?
Well, I'm always reading several books at one time. I'm reading John Assaraf's new book called Inner Size.
Oh.
There's exercise, there's inner size. And that's all about the brain, and he's really an expert in neurology and how successful people think. I'm always I love actually philosophy books. I really love things. So I'm reading a book now by Henry David Thoreau. He's really one of my favorite authors, and favorite quote is all good things are wild and free. So love that. Also, another one of my favorite books is The Big Leap, and we're talking about leaps, and it really is about breaking the ceiling on what you feel that you can create in your life. Super, super powerful book.
Excellent. So what's next for Allison Maslan?
Well, it's first just having this baby. I mean, I've been carrying this baby to get it out for 2 years of gestation. So super excited about sharing Scale or Fail. So, really hoping that people, it's the only book on scaling by a woman.
Oh, excellent.
Really, really proud about that. And it was endorsed by Barbara Corcoran and Damon John from Shark Tank. And so what is next after that? We also have a big event in January called Level Up Live. And so that will be happening January 18th to the 20th in San Diego. And just continuing to get out there and helping people make their dreams come true.
So is Level Up Live available to the public if people want to buy tickets, or is it a private event?
No, Level Up Live is it's for business owners. You have to run a business to come. And the name of the event was called Blast Off for 7 years.
Yes, I remember it.
And we just rebranded, which I think is good for business owners to do, keep it fresh. We're not really helping people blast off anymore. Now we help them level up and scale. So that's that. And you can just go to levelupliveevent.com. Or, just go to, our website, AllisonMaslan.com, and get all the information there.
Okay, so tell us how we can get your book. And if you'd like to grab it, we can wait.
Okay. All right.
I'd love for you to show everybody the cover.
Okay. My God, I literally just got this in the mail, so I should have had it right next to me.
It's
I
okay.
didn't like that. My goodness. Okay. 1 second. So I'm going to run super
Well,
fast.
we'll look at your beautiful home while you're going. Look at that. So I'm very excited, and hopefully we can help Allison promote her book. We'll ask her when she comes back what we can do to help support her in her and we'll open it up for questions as soon as we find out how to get a copy of her book. So then we'll be through. Excited. Thank you, Christine. Hi. So good to see you. I'm not sure who the 305 number is, but we'll find out in a moment. And we're very excited. And Betty, of course. Here we go. Yay. Look at that cover. Love it. Love it.
Yeah. Really excited.
So what's the subtitle again? Tell us
called Scale or Fail, How to Build Your Dream Team, Explode Your Growth, and Let Your Business Soar.
And how can we get a copy?
And there's the little trapeze bars there, if you can see.
Oh, yes, saw that.
You can go to scaleorfail.com, and you'll get to watch the book trailer and learn a lot about the book. And scaleorfail.com.
Excellent. How can we help support you in getting the word out?
Well, people can also buy this for their friends. It's a great gift. So we have bonuses if people buy 5 books or 10 books or more, even with opportunities to work with me directly, even for some flying out to wherever it is that you live. That's part of the bonuses too. And, just keep doing what you're doing, Heidi. I love that you're out there and you're inspiring women to step into their greatness, and you really do make a difference. So I'm just honored to be able to be a part of your show and share my work. So
thank you. So how can we best get in contact with you?
If you just go to support@AllisonMaslan.com, I will be able to get that directly. And if anybody has any questions on our mentoring, on our mastermind, on the book, anything, or just a question about your business, really encourage you to reach out.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Allison, so much. Do you have time for maybe a question or two if anybody has any?
Oh, yeah.
I'll unmute everybody. And so you're now unmuted, except for Betty. Hold on, Betty. I don't know why you didn't unmute. Betty, you might have to unmute yourself. For some reason, it didn't unmute you. So if you want to...
Yeah, I muted myself in the first place.
So if you have a question, now's the time to ask Allison. Betty, do you have any questions or comments you'd like to share?
It was really well timed that you were having this particular topic today, because I'm in the midst of doing research on scaling for my employer. And we're in particular looking at automated forms of scaling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you cover any of that in your book?
We do. I mean, anytime that you can create a system around something. One of my good friends, who's a successful woman in business, said, build a business through your systems, not your blood. Which I thought, oh my God, I'm putting that in the book. That's so true. And so anytime that you're doing something over and over, even if it's for 5 minutes and you think, oh, well, it only takes 5 minutes, but yeah, 5 minutes every week, or, how many times. So anytime that you can automate, or, there's just so many softwares and things that can do things. So that's a great way to scale, of course. So glad this was helpful for you.
Good. So Betty, tell your employer to buy a copy for everybody in the company.
If they're really invested in scaling, they need to get this book.
Yeah, well, they definitely, and you know what? They might buy enough that they'll get Allison in person to come see you. You never know.
Yeah, we could bring her to town, but then we'd have to shoot her because we're in a secure business.
Oh,
I work for.
That was really great. Okay, moving on.
All right.
Christine?
I have a question. This is Marina from the 305 number. Marina Pavlov.
Let me just tell you who Marina is. Allison Marina runs an amazing nonprofit called the Florida Association of Nonprofits, and it's an organization of nonprofit organizations. And I've been a member for many, many years, and she's just fabulous. So thank you, Marina.
Yes, plus you're a member of our faculty. Thank you very much.
Every once in a while I get social media and stuff. So go ahead, Marina.
Yes. I just want to know if these methods, I'm thinking of nonprofits in which to do this, to practice this in. And I do you see any reason why nonprofits can't do this? Same kind of scaling?
Oh, yeah. No, we have many clients that are nonprofits. You've got to run your business, your nonprofit, like a business. And so absolutely, I think that's where the nonprofits fall short. And so it totally applies to a nonprofit business.
Mm-hmm. Because I was thinking of how nonprofits can make to scale. I was thinking to scale would be to form franchises or affiliates doing the same thing and doing this for the same reason and the same mission and so on. Because I think our organization and probably others could scale that way in forming little clones of each other.
Yeah, definitely. I think that people have a heart. They're afraid to build that team because we feel like it has to be us, but it's really our ego that gets in the way. But we had a nonprofit, a guy that works with us now, Steve Michio, is in his second year with us, and he runs a nonprofit for addiction, and which is a problem right now. And they have been able to grow by leaps and bounds. They just got a $4 million contract to build a whole healing center for addictions and mental health issues. So it's like there's so much opportunity out there, and you often just need people to help you look at your business or your nonprofit, whatever, in a new way, because there's opportunities sitting at your feet and you don't even see them. So plus you have those people to help you.
And Marina, you have such a large team of people. You could probably get together and brainstorm some ideas. Hire Matt, Allison to come in and talk to your team and help you figure it all out. I mean, there's just so many things you could do. I know that I wish that was my area of expertise, because I think I know that the Florida Association of Nonprofits could be just it could be the United States Association of Nonprofits, really. Thank you for all you do, Marina. And Marina's one of those people who has no ego. She's very confident, a very confident woman, but not ego driven. I don't think. I think what she does is she does it a bit. You're a vision driven woman, and I love that. So thank you, Marina. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi.
My pleasure. Christine, do you have any questions or comments?
Well, the question I have is actually for my clients.
That's okay.
Allison, your Level Up Live, do you have speakers coming in for that? Do you need speakers?
We do have speakers. Actually, the keynote is Ellen Lapham, who's the founder of Orange Theory.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah, over 1,000 locations now, and she is such a neat lady, super inspiring. She's a single mom, and so yeah, she's the keynote. But yeah, we already have our lineup for this event.
You have your lineup, okay? Because I'm a speaker coordinator, a virtual speaker coordinator, so I have clients in California.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. Definitely email me your information.
Okay, that'd be great.
And she's at the top of the list of what she does. Christine is actually on our board of women in e-commerce as well, and a past Golden Mouse honoree, as well as Marina is a past Golden Mouse honoree. So excellent. Oh, ladies, thank you all for being with us today. We're running out of time. We've got 1 minute, and I like to try to stay on time. So if anybody has one last burning question, you can ask it. If not, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up and thank Allison for being with us today.
I think we're good.
All right, excellent. Well, Allison, again, thank you so much for being with us. I'm super excited that we had this opportunity. We actually got Allison through We Magazine for Women. Allison's been featured in my magazine before, and I guess one of your publicists contacted me and said, would you like her to do an article or an interview? And I go, oh, I want an interview. So I was because I know how busy you are. So I want to, again, thank you for taking time out of your busy day. Remember, everybody, scaleorfail.com. Go check out her book. And quickly just mention that on October 4th, our next speaker is Allison Shapiro. And she's going to be talking about book writing. I don't remember the exact topic. We've been talking back and forth. So it'll be, and Betty, you've written a few and you're an author. So we'll
be there.
talk a little bit more about that. I'll make sure everybody gets that. And again, Allison Maslan from Pinnacle Global Network. Thank you so much for being with us on the Entrepreneur Show today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you, Allison.
Thanks, Heidi.
Thank you, Allison. Bye-bye.
Bye.